You understand manifestation. You've studied Neville Goddard's teachings. You assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, visualize, and affirm. But then, nothing seems to change. Or worse, life throws obstacles in your way. Unexpected delays, people pulling away, opportunities slipping through your fingers. And suddenly, doubt creeps in. What if I'm doing it wrong? What if my manifestation isn't working? What if the universe is showing me that it's not meant to be? But what if everything that's happening, yes, even the challenges, is actually leading you straight to your desire? This is the bridge of incidents, a series of events, often unpredictable, that naturally move you from where you are to where you want to be. The problem isn't that your manifestation isn't working. The problem is that you don't recognize the bridge while you're on it. And that doubt, that's the only thing delaying your manifestation. Most people sabotage their manifestations because they expect an instant shift. They want immediate confirmation from reality. But Neville was clear: the moment you assume your wish is fulfilled, the path to it has already begun unfolding. Think of it like planting a seed. You don't see it sprout right away, but something is happening underground. The roots are forming, the process is in motion. You don't dig up the soil every day to check if it's growing. You trust that, in time, it will break through the surface. Your manifestations work the same way. The bridge is being built, even if you can't see it yet. But here's the catch: the bridge doesn't always look the way you expect it to. Often, people imagine that manifestation means a straight, effortless path to their desire, where things align in a way that feels magical and obvious. But reality tends to unfold in ways that challenge your perception. Sometimes, the very circumstances that seem to be working against you are actually moving you toward what you want. You might experience setbacks, delays, or even events that feel like the opposite of what you desire. This is where most people lose faith. They assume that because things aren't going the way they envisioned, their manifestation isn't working. In reality, these moments are often part of the bridge of incidents leading to your desire. Imagine someone manifesting their dream job. Instead of receiving an immediate job offer, they might suddenly lose their current position. At first, this seems disastrous. But in hindsight, it turns out to be the very thing that pushed them to apply for an opportunity they wouldn't have considered otherwise. The bridge didn't look the way they expected, but it was still leading them exactly where they wanted to go. This is why persistence is key. If you react to every seeming setback as proof that your manifestation isn't working, you disrupt the process. Instead of trusting the unseen forces at play, you fall back into the old state of doubt, reinforcing the reality you're trying to change. Neville emphasized the importance of remaining faithful to the new state, of assuming the wish is fulfilled, regardless of external circumstances. Your inner state is what creates your outer world. If you waver every time things appear to go wrong, you're essentially telling the universe that you don't truly believe in the new reality. Think back to the seed analogy. A farmer doesn't dig up the soil and abandon the crop just because he doesn't see results overnight. He knows that growth is happening beneath the surface, even if it's invisible for a while. He nurtures the soil, provides water and sunlight, and trusts that nature will take care of the rest. Your imagination works the same way. Once you plant the seed of your desire through assumption, your only job is to remain in the state of the wish fulfilled. You persist, knowing that just because you can't see the progress doesn't mean nothing is happening. The key is to detach from how the manifestation unfolds. The universe arranges events in the most efficient way possible, but that doesn't always align with our expectations. Instead of worrying about when or how, focus on the end result. Feel it as real now. Trust the process. Your bridge is being built, even if you can't see every step just yet. Let's say you're manifesting a partner. You assume the feeling of being in a loving relationship with them. You persist in that state. And then, out of nowhere, they start dating someone else. Your first reaction: panic, doubt. You convince yourself that you failed. But what if this event, this thing that looks like a setback, is actually part of your bridge? Maybe this relationship makes them realize you were the one all along. Maybe it triggers something within them that makes them miss you. Maybe it shifts circumstances in ways you can't even comprehend yet. Or let's say you're manifesting financial abundance. You step into the state of wealth, you assume the feeling, and then you suddenly lose your job. At first, it seems like a disaster. But what if losing that job is exactly what needed to happen to align you with an even better opportunity? Maybe it forces you to start that business you've been procrastinating on. Maybe it opens a door that wouldn't have been available otherwise. The problem isn't the event itself, it's the meaning you assign to it. What if, instead of seeing obstacles, you started seeing movement? What if, instead of resisting the bridge, you started trusting it? Most people sabotage their manifestations because they mistake temporary circumstances for permanent outcomes. They assume that if something appears to be going wrong, it must mean their desire isn't coming. But what if these twists and turns were necessary? What if every detour was actually guiding you exactly where you need to be? Consider this. Have you ever looked back on a situation that once seemed like a setback and realized it was actually a blessing in disguise? Maybe a breakup led you to deep self-discovery and a better relationship. Maybe missing out on an opportunity forced you onto a path that was even more aligned. Life has a way of arranging things in ways we don't immediately understand, but once you zoom out, you start to see the perfection in it all. When you react negatively to an event, you anchor yourself in a state of fear, lack, and doubt. And what does that do? It keeps you stuck. You start entertaining thoughts like, "It's not working," or "I knew this was too good to be true." And the more you dwell in that state, the more you reinforce the very reality you were trying to change. But what if, instead, you could remain calm? What if, instead of panicking, you took a deep breath and reminded yourself, "This is all unfolding in my favor"? Because it is. Even if you can't see the full picture yet, you have to trust that the bridge is forming exactly as it should. Think of a movie. When you're in the middle of a plot twist, you don't yet know how it's going to resolve. The character might be facing a huge challenge, and if you only saw that part, you might assume things would end badly. But by the end of the movie, you see how every event, every moment of uncertainty, was leading to the perfect resolution. Your life works the same way. You just have to trust the process. So the next time something unexpected happens on your manifestation journey, remind yourself, this isn't a failure. This isn't a setback. This is movement. The bridge to your desire is being built, piece by piece. All you have to do is walk across it, without fear, without resistance, and with complete trust that what you desire is already yours. The biggest mistake people make when manifesting is trying to control how their desires unfold. They want everything to happen in a straight line, with no detours, no confusion, no discomfort. But that's not how reality shifts. Neville said, "You do not need to concern yourself with the ways and means. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and let it come to you." Yet most people do the opposite. They assume their desire, but then they constantly check reality for proof. They overanalyze every situation, trying to force things to happen their way. And in doing so, they block the very process that's trying to bring their desire to them. The bridge isn't always comfortable. It might challenge you. It might push you into uncertainty. But that doesn't mean it's wrong. It means it's working. Most people don't realize that their desire is often unfolding in ways that seem chaotic or unexpected. They assume manifestation means everything will align effortlessly, without any obstacles, without any struggle. But think about how transformations actually happen in nature. A caterpillar doesn't smoothly transition into a butterfly. It breaks down completely inside its cocoon before emerging in its new form. Seeds don't gently rise from the ground. They push through soil, breaking through resistance to reach the light. The process of change often appears messy, even uncomfortable. The same applies to your manifestations. The bridge of events leading to your desire might not always look the way you expect. It might take you through moments of doubt, discomfort, or what seem like setbacks. But every single event is part of the process. Each moment is arranging things perfectly in the background. This is where trust becomes everything. If you react negatively to every unexpected turn, you disrupt the process. You start thinking, maybe this isn't working, or maybe I need to do something else. And as soon as you start doubting, you shift back into your old state, the state where your desire doesn't exist. That's why persistence is so important. Neville constantly reminded us that once we assume our wish fulfilled, we must remain faithful to that assumption, no matter what appears in the 3D world. Imagine you're on a train headed toward your dream destination. You don't jump off every time the scenery doesn't match what you expected. You don't panic just because you pass through tunnels or unfamiliar landscapes. You trust that the train is taking you exactly where you need to go. The same applies to your manifestation. If you jump off the train, if you let doubt take over, you delay your arrival. The key is to surrender. Let go of needing to control every detail. Stop worrying about when or how. Your job is simply to dwell in the state of the wish fulfilled. Let the bridge unfold however it needs to. So when something unexpected happens, when circumstances look like they're going in the wrong direction, don't resist. Don't panic. Instead, remind yourself, this is the bridge. This is movement. My desire is already mine, and everything is aligning perfectly. The more you trust, the faster you'll arrive exactly where you're meant to be. So, how do you know if you're on your bridge? Simple. If things are moving, whether it looks good or bad, you're on it. If unexpected things start happening, you're on it. If emotions are being stirred within you, you're on it. If your external world seems chaotic, or even opposite to what you want, you're on it. Most people assume that if their reality doesn't immediately reflect their desire, it means nothing is happening. But reality is always shifting. The problem is that most people give up before the shift is complete. They see an obstacle and assume they've failed, instead of realizing that this is just part of the unfolding. Imagine standing on one side of a river, trying to get to the other side. You can't see the bridge yet, But as you walk forward, stones begin appearing beneath your feet. You can't see the whole path, but step by step, it reveals itself. That's how manifestation works. You don't need to see the entire bridge. You just need to trust that it's there. The issue is that most people hesitate. They look down at the first stone that appears and question whether they should step on it. They analyze it, doubt it, wonder if it's safe. Instead of moving forward with faith, they stall. And the longer they wait, the more fear creeps in. But manifestation requires movement, whether physical or mental. If you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled but then constantly check reality for proof, you're hesitating on that first stone. You're questioning whether the bridge is real instead of walking across it. You don't need to know how the bridge will form. You just need to trust that it will. Think about the times in your life when things seemed like they weren't working out, only for you to realize later that everything had been aligning perfectly. Maybe you lost a job, only to land a much better opportunity. Maybe a relationship ended, but that breakup led to a level of growth you never would have experienced otherwise. Life has a way of working out when you allow it to. The same applies to manifestation. If things seem chaotic, it doesn't mean you're failing. It means movement is happening. You wouldn't judge a movie by a single scene, so why judge your manifestation by a single moment in time? Your job is to persist, no matter what shows up. The moment you assume your desire is done, the bridge begins forming. But it's your job to keep walking, even when you can't see the next step. So instead of resisting the unknown, embrace it. Instead of doubting the process, surrender to it. When things seem to be falling apart, remind yourself they're actually falling into place. When things feel uncertain, tell yourself that means movement is happening. The bridge is always there. Your only job is to keep walking. Neville taught that your world is yourself pushed out, meaning your 3D reality has no choice but to conform to your assumptions. If you persist in the state of the wish fulfilled, everything must rearrange itself to match that state. But here's what most people forget. Reality doesn't rearrange itself in a vacuum. Things shift. People leave. Situations change. Sometimes, things fall apart before they come together. But it's all part of the process. If you are truly living in the end, then no matter what happens in the middle, you hold your ground. You trust. You persist. And you watch as reality bends in ways you could have never predicted. So, here's the truth. Your manifestation is already unfolding. The bridge is already in motion. Everything is happening in perfect order, even if it doesn't make sense to you yet. The only question is, will you trust it? Or will you resist it? Will you let go of control and allow the bridge to carry you? Or will you keep questioning, doubting, and delaying the very thing you've already set in motion? The universe doesn't need your help. It doesn't need you to figure out the how. It just needs you to stay in the state of the wish fulfilled and let the bridge do its job. The bridge is always there. Your only job is to keep walking. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced a moment where things seemed to be going wrong, but later you realized it was actually leading you to something better? Share your story in the comments below.